We live?
Mm,
Hello, everybody. Professionals as we are. Live chat.
One second, I'm setting it up. No reception. Um, I have to wait for that to start.
Cell phone has to catch up. There we are.
No, I have to put it
Dead air.
on. There you go. So I have Steven Andrews.
Hello, Steven.
I have Jane.
Jay, if he's still here.
Daniel Morrissey.
Hello, Daniel.
I have Paco Alpha.
Hola, Paco Alpha.
Paco.
Paco Alpha.
I have Chris.
Hey, Chris.
And I have Buddy Carfano.
Buddy. Paco.
¿Qué Paco? Dice, hola amigos, ¿cómo les fue con las vacaciones? ¿Quién salió a pasear? No salí ni al
Vacaciones.
patio.
¿Qué es eso?
No salí ni al patio. Yo
Paco, ¿para dónde vives en Tamaulipas? ¿Qué ciudad?
¿Ya aprendí las fotos? Sí.
It's a Chevy truck. 400 SS, which is a real model in Mexico. You're going to see the original invoice, and it's going to say that on there. We have a slow start today. 400 SS was also on the 98 style trucks too.
You just feel like what?
Hope they can't hear that.
No. Is it body?
So then they switched to the 99 body style and put the 400 SS on the step side type trucks. Yeah, it's a real package. When it says 350 SS on the side, it's not.
Feeling any better, Mike? What's wrong with you?
The bloatedness from the corn pops. Yes, I am actually, Chris. I'm eating more just like cereal instead of heavy meats and stuff. I'm hoping that all of this flows through. There's the invoice that says right there that it's a Keepo 400 SS somewhere on there.
Don't bus Braden is here.
Hey, Braden.
I'm back home now. Just got home last night, sadly. I'll be fully moved out in the next couple months.
It's gonna take you a couple of months to move out. How was your time with Faith? Did you guys get along well? I heard that. It's also hard to find one of these little Chevy pickups, but every once in a while you find a decent one. Decent condition.
Stray Bullet is here.
Hey, Stray Bullet. What's going on? These aren't stock wheels, but the rest of it looks pretty good inside and out.
Braden says, oh my god, we got along so well. I want to get engaged already, and I already told my mom if she's just like you and your brother both are something you both want to bring right now for both of your ladies.
Okay.
Chris says, looks like an Aussie youth.
No, not really. Well, maybe. I don't think they use these down there. From what I understand, they had these down there, but they were like enclosed vans. They didn't even have a pickup. They had the enclosed van. So that's the only one they know over there.
Double says, well, it looks like I'm the first one here again.
You can't see anybody else? Everybody waved a stray bullet. Little problem on the seat, but other than that, it's to be expected. Well, maybe it isn't a problem. Maybe it's just a pattern on the seat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. More casino carpet on seats.
Yeah. It is just want to go out on safari.
That's in Africa. That's a long way to go.
Or Mexico City.
Go to your local zoo. Put your safari hat on. Save a lot of money. They have safaris in Mexico City?
Yep. One. It's called Africam. You ever heard of it?
No.
Oh, okay.
What do they have? Wild animals there?
Yep.
Oh, no thanks.
Brandon says, I will also go to a safari hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Believe in yourself is here.
Hey, Believe.
Believe says, I just got hired at a parsley farm. It's pretty easy work, but downside is that they started garnishing my wages.
Ba-dum-bum.
Faith from Arcus here.
Hello, Faith.
Strick says, it's raining in California today.
That's not possible. It never rains in California.
Like
Here's everybody's favorite car in the world. Everybody's favorite car. I had to include this today. Everybody loves these, and they did even before Breaking Bad. I hadn't seen one of these for sale for quite a while, and all of a sudden there's like 3 black ones for sale, and they all have different license plates and different looks to them and different seats. So I know they were different cars. Believe in yourself says, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Spec, and chat.
So,
Chris says, that does not look like a Vocho. Vocho or Nocho? It looks like a Vocho, Chris, that had helium put in it and blew it up to its maximum density. Braden says, it's just like the Mercuries. Lester LeSaber's here.
hi, Lester.
Hello, Lester. I can't really tell if these are seats in this thing or they're seat covers. I don't know what Aztec seats look like. But this is the car we should buy for you.
No.
Yes.
No.
It would be perfect for you.
Nothing.
Yeah. That's clear. That's glass in the back, so you can see straight out the back to the cars. So it's easy. It's not like a Mustang, a Mach 1 Mustang that you can't see out the back.
Okay. There was this. Who just signed that car?
I don't know. I think they hid the name of the guy. He's not taking credit for it, whoever he is. But everybody goes after this one because of the extra cladding and stuff. But the Buick Rendezvous got a pass. Nobody even talks about that, and it's the same vehicle. And I knew I forgot something.
Wait, give me a microphone.
No. Where is it? Where did the zapper go?
Brandon says, another funny looking car, PT Cruiser. Mr. Spec was actually going to get a Dream Cruiser, but they couldn't get one.
No.
What?
I had a PT Cruiser come in, not a Dream Cruiser. I wanted a Dream Cruiser. I don't know where the zapper is.
I don't know.
I ordered a Dream Cruiser in 2001 when they first came out here in Mexico in the purplish color, and they brought it from Mexico City to bring it here, and they put it outside the dealership, and my friend and I went to look at the car at nighttime, before we went in to buy it the next day, or before I went in to buy it the next day, and the paint was destroyed. It had scratches all over it. The car just looked terrible, and told them, no, we're not. I'm not buying that car. So they wouldn't take no for an answer. And the salesman went down to my bank and said, hey, I need to be paid for this car. He's buying this car. And they threw him out. So I ended up with a 2001 Nissan Altima, which was a pretty nice car.
Faith Bernard says, Mexican Spec, you're my best friend.
I thought Kim was your best friend. We both can't be your best friend.
Josh Homan is here.
Hello, Josh.
Let me see. And Josh Homan says, the Aztec looks as if they built an SUV, squashed it flat, and built another one on top of it. Also, Mark Sobe is here.
Hello, Mark. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have a lot of fun with the Aztecs, taking them off road, camping with them. There's a lot of room inside for a lot of people, a lot of luggage and stuff, so it serves a purpose. You read that one.
Liv says, I bought my mother-in-law a cemetery plot for Christmas. The next year, I didn't buy her a gift. When she asked me why, I replied, well, you still haven't used the gift I bought you last year.
We got to try that.
Braden says, that Ford looks like a Toyota Echo.
This Ford Ka? No, it does not look like an Echo. There's nothing that looks like this thing. It's too bad Buff isn't here to see it. I think he's with Dallas and Shane, but he likes these cars. Looks like somebody spilled gas for years and years and years. Wore the paint off under the cap. I made sure to never do that on any car I ever had. My Durango's 26 years old now, and the paint under the gas door still looks perfect.
And so it says, what's a dream cruiser? Who made them?
Chrysler made them. It was a special model. I wanted the first one. It was like a dark orange, and it had Dream Cruiser emblems on it. It had special wheels and special colors and stuff. Looked like I wanted one of those real bad.
Trouble says, that car looks like a jelly bean. It does. It kind of does. Sir Andrews too says, oye, ¿cómo va? Oye, ¿cómo va? Y ritmo.
Don't get her going, Steven.
Blue says, an Echo is when Toyota and Mazda cooperated.
Why would they cooperate two competitors? I mean, I understand the Japanese teaming up with an American company, but two Japanese companies? It was a little car, it serves its purpose for people that don't have a lot of money.
How do you Stephen Andrews?
Hello, Stephen Andrews 1. Stephen Andrews 2 is singing for some reason. Or does Stephen Andrews 1 speak English and Stephen Andrews 2 speak Spanish?
Maybe.
Practice, practice. This is another car that's really hard to find one with the intact seats, with decent paint, all that stuff. There's one actually right now. A friend of mine has. Actually, he's a customer of mine. He bought a Beetle from me. He has one of these that he bought in Japan that is right-hand drive, and he's reconditioning it and putting it for sale. And it is probably an hour from where Buff is in Tennessee. And he wants the car, but unfortunately his wallet won't allow him to do that.
So well, it says, I don't think I've ever seen a car like that.
They didn't sell them in the U.S. So no, they sold them in Europe. They sold them in Mexico. Buff rode in one in England that was right-hand drive. But he said it had leather interior. Who puts leather interior in a car like that? I don't know.
Brandon says, I want a Suzuki mini truck or Honda mini truck.
Those are very, very mini trucks, the K trucks.
Fernando says, I like Santana. Me too.
This car is one that is rarely seen either, a 2001 Peugeot. Not many were sold, so there's not many left. Not a bad looking car. I would just worry about the electrical system burning down.
You gonna ignore his comment? You don't have anything
Is
to
that
say
a
about it?
singer?
You don't know Santana?
I
Oh my
don't know
god.
names. I only know songs. I don't even know names of songs. Music was never that important to me. So if you're a French car lover, this would be the car for you.
Chris says Europeans put leather in subcompacts. They don't always consider small cars to be economy cars.
That's weird.
Chevrolet says Buff needs luxury.
Yeah, Buff needs a bigger car so he can get in and out of it.
Fernando says, oh, Peugeot on Vulture Francois.
Close enough. You were studying Italian. You weren't studying French. Yeah, Peugeot. And they still sell them new here. New Peugeots, new Renault, and then all the Chinese electric companies. 2001 Pointer. Lester says, I like Buff's story where the guy told him that the car's a girl's car. Yeah, the Miata used to be a girl's car too, Lester, but now it's a guy's car that they modify them and race them. So, what really is a girl's car?
I like that you are correcting your spelling, like if I know how to pronounce it. Marcus is Fernando's close enough.
That was like take two.
Yeah.
This is another model they didn't sell in the U.S. The Pointer, which came in a 3-door, a 5-door, and a wagon. This one's in pretty decent condition too, which is again hard to find. These entry level cars were usually bought by people that didn't have a lot of money or by companies that gave them to their employees to beat the heck out of them. And most of them are in pretty second. Oh, it also came in a pickup truck. This one. So
Daniel says, clean white little car.
yeah, yeah, it is. Somebody's kept it nice.
Chris says, first generation Volkswagen Rabbit slash Golf convertible equals total girl's car.
Oh yeah, so many of them were in my high school. The girls drove them. So many of them. I don't even think it was a cabriolet yet in 1983, 1984. But yeah, they were all over the student parking lot.
Chevrolet says, a Volkswagen Beetle is a girl's car. I laugh and point if I see a man driving one.
Okay, we'll wait. One, two, three,
What?
four.
Body
Chris is gonna answer him.
California says, why Volkswagen convertible? Definitely a girl.
Yeah, triple white. There was so many of them at school. While the parents, well, the mothers would drive the 300 station wagon, the diesel station 300 TD, I think it was, the station wagon. That was the car that showed up to pick them up from school. But yeah, definitely a girl's car, the Rabbit convertible. I had a few of them, just buy them and sell them. Definitely, that's what brings the girls out. I sold my Renault Alliance convertible to a guy. He bought it for his daughter, and it was a 5-speed, dark gray, 5-speed, very low mile car. But yeah, girls like convertibles. They want to put the top down. I just published this one on.
Chris says, well, I would reply, but I don't want to get banned for using spicy language and inappropriate physical gestures.
We can't see the physical gestures, Chris. So have at it.
Mark says to Chris, I worked briefly for my brother and he gave me a Volkswagen Rabbit to use. The timing belt broke. Ever get towed with a rope at 70 miles per hour?
Oh my God, that had to be scary. Somebody pulls out in front of you. What are you gonna do? In front of him. I would have had my foot on the brake, telling him to slow down. So I just got a picture because the client I'm working with was interested in a black, the SLT Plus, right? Guy sends the engine picture, shows that the truck used to be white. He painted it black and didn't paint the engine compartment or anything. So now the guy's off that one and back to the silver one. Just got to get one of them sold.
Chris says to Mark, those rabbits only weigh about 1,800 pounds. Mark says, lol, it was quite scary.
Mm-hmm.
Mark says, and remember, I'm a drag racer.
But not in a Volkswagen Rabbit.
And Trevor says, I finally got my haircut, Daniel.
Daniel, it's too bad you can't do long distance haircuts. You'd have a lot of clients here. Now, does that seat really go with the exterior color? Looks kind of weird. And a different color on the floor, too. Doesn't look like it goes to me. Ooh.
Chris says, how much did your hairdresser charge? Daniel says, now you're talking my language. Nice truck.
You like the unibodies, Daniel? Or with the two parts, the bed and cab separate? The unibody experiment didn't really work, but they make for nice looking trucks now.
Daniel says, it would be fun to cut hair there. Believe says, my barber said that he can't cut my hair any longer. He can only cut it shorter.
That's called physics. Yes, he is correct. He must have went to school that one.
Mark says, by the way, this was on a two-lane public road with vehicles in both directions. It wasn't on the highway.
That's crazy. What was going through your friend's head?
Faith says, I can't wait to show Buff and Kim some more pictures of me and Brayden.
They better be pictures with your clothes on because Buff and Kim are not going to appreciate it.
Daniel says, they're nice. Chris says, Marxube, we all did sketchy car stuff back in the day. Trouble says, my hairdresser charges around $40, but I gave her a nice tip.
I hope that's not a euphemism, Stray Bullet.
No, he put money back.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Bernard says, Kim is my friend too. You hiccuping.
No, you're hiccuping. You're hiccuping. Hiccuping. Well, a motorcycle fits in the back of the bed, so there's that. Here's one for you, Chris. Interesting color.
What color is that?
I think they call it green.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's like.
Mark said, it was my brother. He was just wild like that. I hope you put his hand in some water when he was sleeping at night. Some warm water when he was sleeping at night to pay him back for that.
Oh, I don't like the interior, but I like the exterior.
Well, they had to put an interior that goes with it, and it's a bit lighter color, but kind of weird that the back of the seat has a pattern, but the bottom of the seat is just plain vinyl. Kind of weird.
I don't think it was pea green because it was like
It was darker than pea green.
No, but it had like yeah. Oh, I forgot the word. It wasn't a solid color. It was like a metallic or something.
You shouldn't paint a Beetle with metallic colors. They only came with solid colors.
That's it. Now we're talking. The saber.
Exactly. I knew you'd pick up on that, but it's a bit older than yours. 63
Then it says old school Buick.
with big headlights.
Chris says, I'm not well versed on stock Volkswagen colors, but that one may have been a factory color.
I'm not sure about that, Chris, because if it was, you would see more of them. I think the green they had was not as shiny. Somebody may have put, clear over that or something.
Four rules is here.
Hey Ford,
But
1963 on the Buick. What?
it's giving me. Mark says, no, he was one tough hombre, and who knows what he would have done being on what he was on. Okay.
This car was converted to a split window. It wasn't an original split window, obviously.
So was the Beatles came in metallic paint colors in the mid 70s.
Are you sure? Like the orange and stuff was metallic?
Uh, Chris says, let me check. Can somebody hold my handbag while I check the Volkswagen color palette?
Sure, Chris. We'll wait for you.
Ford says, headlights are like old did.
In 63,
Remember says 64 split window?
it was converted, Steven.
Ah.
Looks like a pretty good job. You can't see where they inset the window.
Dynamite says, how are you, Mrs. Spec? I'm a little bit sleepy. Also, a roach attacked me last night, so there's that. Willie Carafano says, hit.
Like Night Industries 2000, that kit.
Someone says, silver was metallic.
Silver's not a color. Would anybody know this if you took this to the U.S.? Would anybody know it's not an original split window?
Trouble says, green was metallic.
I'm gonna have to look that up, Stray Bullet, because that sounds like expensive paint on a very very cheap car. And that wasn't what they do.
Ford says, the Buick, space within lights.
Yeah, it was a weird configuration. Buick did that for a few years.
Glenn Nickerson is here.
Hello, Glenn.
And I said, ooh, a split window.
Kind of.
Sarah Martin says, Snippy, pull out the candy. I have cookies.
And your carrot bread too.
It's on the fridge.
Mm.
So it says blue was metallic. Sandra says, well, if you do that, you should backdate the rest. Taillights, etc.
Aren't those the early taillights? Those weren't 64 taillights.
Monica says I didn't. For Rule says I agree. Silver isn't a color. Grace says the 63 was not stock color. They did often offer green, but it was deeper, more manly shade of green.
A more manly shade of green. He's trying to butch up the Beatles.
Mark says I can't make out the back bodywork, but he's the original window size.
I'm not looking that closely at it, Mark, so I can't see anything. That's the way I want it. Obviously, they didn't have embossed seats in that year, but it'll fool some other people some of the time. You can see it from the inside where they put inset that window in. Now here's a 64 Olds Jetstar. You don't see many of these around either. This is obviously an import into Mexico at some point in its life, but being here means it wasn't rusted out over there. The front end kind of looks like the same front end they put on the special on the what was it, the F85 and the Cutlass. I think it should be lower. The rear fender well should be lower over the wheels. Got little bitty fins on it. Hmm.
Fernando says split window German cars and oval. I believe more round. Research on the Samba will confirm. So is that one of those turbocharged cars?
No, I don't think they turbocharged the full size cars. It was only the smaller ones. Somebody did a job on the interior though. That's not the original interior.
Ryan says, I'm not a two-tone fan, but the car is beautiful.
You should look at the 50s cars that were three colors.
Chris says, split window bugs up through middle of 53, oval from then until 57, if I recall correctly.
Well, the oval, the split window never works because you can't see out the back of the car. Just like the split window Corvette. There was only 1 year and people got rid of them because they couldn't see out the back of their car.
Lester says, looks like a giant cutlass.
It does. It's very similar. Or the Cutlass looks like a downsized version of that because the full size cars came first.
Chevrolet says, supercharged some full size Oldsmobile cars.
What model did they turbocharge? I thought it was just the F85 that they turbocharged with the small engine.
The Nicholson says, pulling all the stops out tonight.
Well, I gotta show different cars, even though I probably showed this one before.
Fernando says, yes, the Olds has two high springs, and yes, only the Jetfire F85 base car got the turbo.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because they wouldn't turbocharge a full-size car. That had to be more dependable.
Will the trail is here?
Hello, Will.
Chris says, no need to look out the back of a split window Beetle. All of the other traffic is in front of you. Lol.
Yeah, but I'd rather see if somebody's gonna rear end me.
Braden says, Pontiacs were good cars.
Some of them were, yes. And I will not get political here. I probably should, but I'm not going to.
No.
This Malibu is in really nice condition, and that looks like original upholstery, like what you're looking at there, like that the embossed thing. I don't know if that actually came from the factory like that, but somebody put it in there if it wasn't.
Glenn says, my Willys is a split window, and that's what makes the car recognizable from behind compared to others.
Split window, okay.
The Willys is a Jetfire.
So the Jetfire had a turbo?
Shannon 78 Montes here.
Hello, Shannon. Thanks for joining us.
They say, what's going on, Mexican Spec?
Just showing cars and jibber jabbering. Shannon, the car you bought is a Caballero, right? And the other one is an El Camino that he kept? But yours is the GMC, I think.
Chevrolet says the F85 isn't considered to be a full size? Question mark?
No, that was the Cutlass. That was the small one.
Brendan says, should I go turkey hunting next week?
Is that like a euphemism for like hunting your neighbors or something? Most neighbors are turkeys.
Shannon says, yes, correct.
So do you know how to say the word correctly? Because I tried teaching Tony, I tried teaching Art, they just won't get it. Caballero. Like Cabyedo. Caballero.
And Mara says, she's beautiful.
A lot of money though, Daniel. A little over $1 million pesos for this car they want. I understand it's a fastback, but over $1 million. And this one was imported because they never sold a fastback here. Definitely imported.
Chris says, Tony can't even pronounce coffee or radiator correctly.
Well, that's true.
Rude.
That's true.
Rude. Shannon says, the one I bought is a 79 Caballero, the Diablo, I guess.
Caballero.
Caballero. Diablo 1, I guess.
The Diablo, I guess.
The Diablo, I guess. Braden says, poor Tony.
So it's a gentleman devil. That's interesting. Isn't that kind of like the TV show we used to watch? The Lucifer,
I
the
guess.
one that had Lucifer Morningstar on it.
I guess.
He was always a gentleman, almost always.
Wilderfield says, "That will sound weird to all of you. This would sound weird to all of you, but I was just watching my friend's video on this next restoration project. It's a vintage room air conditioner. It's from the 1960s. He restores those.
Really? Is it an air conditioner or a
Yeah,
like a water swamp cooler? Room air conditioner, which means it's inside, so there has to be an exhaust somewhere.
Mark says 80,129.22 Canadian dollars.
That's a lot of Canadian dollars, Mark, for a Mustang.
Fernando says only made 77,000 for 65 and 35,000 for 66.
Only made? Only? That's a lot of cars, Steven.
Chris says to Willitrell, not weird. Does he convert them to R134 or does he have a stockpile of R12? Chris Bernard says, I'm making fried chicken. Oh, fried
I can't
chicken.
have fried chicken anymore. I can't do the fried part.
Brenda says, did you all see my shirt I posted with the eating a Carolina Reaper me and my friend did at a hotel?
No, I didn't, Braden.
Um,
So did it hurt as much coming out as it did going in?
Mark says, what is it you desire? Oh.
Exactly. Exactly, Mark.
Yep. Lenny says, party at Faye's house. Trevor says, I wouldn't mind having a vintage air conditioner.
It'll probably last longer than anything you can buy.
Chris says to Faith, I sure hope you're making enough chicken for all of us.
And I only like breast meat. You can peel off the breading.
Shannon says the wife nicknamed the car Ponchito Pistoles from the Three Caballeros, which fits it since it's red.
Oh, okay. From the movie.
Fernando says compared to 500,000, yes.
It's still a lot of cars. It's by no means rare.
Somebody says you can still buy R12. Literal says this room air conditioning uses R22. He does have a big stockpile of R22. Joel says it's very expensive though.
Yep. Just for no reason at all.
Well, Literal says, yep, that's why I'm part of the community that restores these old air conditioners.
Yeah, they'll last forever. But it already has lasted forever.
Braden says, remember what I said, Faith, I was cooking. Make sure you're fully done that way, Darwin. What? Make sure you're fully done that way, Darwin.
I'm sure he means to cook the chicken well so it's not dangerous to eat.
Mark says to Chris, I heard it's not an issue anymore, or it's O-rings and a circulation from how much are 120 to 134 do you use?
Calculation for how much R134 to use.
Chris says, when I bought my house in 2000s, the previous owners left a permanently mounted window AC unit. It was a General Motors Frigidaire unit from the 60s.
That's cool. Did it have all its knobs on it and stuff? Those are hard to find.
Brendan says, remember that I said before you serve it and don't be like Darwin and undercook stuff.
Yeah, you never want to eat undercooked chicken.
Brendan says, your aunt's boyfriend who lives there also.
So he'll be the guinea pig to eat it? Mrs. Spec can make me fried chicken, but it has to be with the breading would be ground up gluten free cornflakes. That's the only way I'm able to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really need to because it's not that tasty. Even.
Miranda says, well, the fast food were likely driven more enthusiastically.
Maybe, maybe not, because some of them came with inline sixes. So.
Chevrolet says propane is the least expensive refrigerant.
But very flammable.
Brendan says, I love him though. Either way, Darwin is a good guy either way.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like Darwin, like survival of the fittest. If you don't cook the chicken enough, it's going to be like Darwin taking over.
Wilfred says, that's a very nice Sari Mustang coupe. Weird, the previous owner painted the engine red.
People like to paint engines over here for some reason. I don't know.
Fernando says, yes, avoid a visit from Sam
Sam
and
and
Ella.
Ella. Yep. Don't want either of them. Old license plate. Don't know how that would work.
Braden says, I got a question for you all. So he ate 4 lemon cookies that were lactating girl milk producing cookies. He ate about 40 of them. Well, he produced milk because when I was over on my girlfriend, she gave him lactating cookies. Ron's boyfriend lactating cookies, I think it's kind of funny. Does it do anything to guys?
No, it doesn't. Guys don't have the ducts, I don't think, to create any.
No, as far as I know, guys don't have milk milk ducts or whatever they're called.
That's what I just said.
Jay White is here,
Hello, Jay.
and Jay's back.
Little Red Mustang. Jay and Jay. Hello, Jay.
Glenn says, "Oh, Spec, tell your body poison control. Eat what you want, and if your body doesn't like it, it can go hungry."
I've already done that, Glenn, which is why I got sick. So I'm not doing that anymore. I ate a product that they said was gluten free. Mrs. Spec even called the company Kellogg's, and the nutritionist working there said, yes, it's gluten free. It's the only product we have gluten free. Well, it's not. So I can't eat that anymore.
Stable says, "That's disgusting, Brady." Faith Bernard says, I leave it in the over till it's fully done."
It's got to be oven.
Hmm.
You,
Chris,
you cook fried chicken in an oven? Thought it
you
was in
can,
oil.
you can. Chris says, it's actually technically possible for a man to lactate as Junior Spec. You can lactate, but it wouldn't be called milk.
I'm not going to ask Junior Spec that. I don't want to put that on his plate.
Faith Bernard says, I don't want to get sick like that again.
No, you don't. 71 Mustang in orange and other colors. Doesn't look bad. Doesn't look bad. Orange on a Mustang coupe.
Glenn says, if that happens, it's a good start to a diet.
Well, I just had to not eat any more of that cereal. So I ate it all so there wasn't any more in the house.
Ah, bueno.
That's how it works.
Fernando says, KFC uses pressure cookers.
Do they?
I have no idea.
I never asked my buddy who was a manager there. Could have sworn it was in oil. Maybe not.
It was pretty oily. Chris says, Jay Buffalo. Shannon Montes says, never understood what's a gluten.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Tell them what gluten is.
It's the. Why did you make me? It's the protein that binds in wheat, barley, and rye and makes it uh, sticky.
Yeah, so I can't eat anything that has wheat in it or anything like that. So that cuts out cookies, cakes, pizza, everything that I used to eat. So the whole diet has changed. And if my doctor says I can't have chocolate anymore, there's no reason to go on living. You're not taking chocolate from me.
Does anyone remember chicken baked fried chicken?
Oh yeah, that was good stuff. And
Says,
pork chops too. Shake and bake pork chops.
Shannon says like the wheels on it. Chris says, back when I used to fry chicken, I actually did use the oven. Get the cast iron pan with oil super hot, put the chicken in for a minute on each side, then finish it cooking in the oven. Glenn says to Shannon, gluten for punishment. Double says, is it it's in oil, but they cook it in a pressure cooker.
Oh, okay. God, if any of those ever blew, Take out all the employees around.
Chris says kitten.
Kitty, kitty, kitty.
Leslie says I remember String. The video game? Yeah, it was pretty good.
No, he remembers shake and bake. You have shake and bake with rice aroni, the San Francisco treat, and it was really good.
Shannon says, what about beer?
Can't have
Yeah.
beer, and I've never had beer my whole life, so that was not hard to give up.
Chris says, so I should mention that my son is bringing home a pizza for dinner in about 40 minutes.
You can mention it. What kind of pizza? What? Don't say pineapple. What kind of toppings?
Brendan says beer, canned chicken. What?
Some people put beer on the chicken. You know the
Yeah.
beer batter.
How do we go to a car to somewhat a truck for Maverick? What?
I'm showing cars, so it's just going by years.
Ford says, Missing Spec, do you prefer dark chocolate?
No, I do not. I can eat it once in a while, but I don't like the taste of it very much. And white chocolate is not a thing.
Glenn says, party at driveway house. I'm going to make out like a bandit tonight.
Chicken and pizza, you're doing well, Glenn.
Sorry, that was me.
Just
It's empty. What? I'm here.
Yes.
Nobody said anything.
Now Mrs. Spec wants to play with the cat.
Oh,
That's not a euphemism, so don't go there.
Chris says it's either going to be a pesto chicken pizza or a country sweet pizza, which is a sweet honey based barbecue sauce with chicken.
Oh my God, that is the best.
Pizza
Pizza Hut used to make that in Vegas, and I would eat the whole thing. My friend would reach for a piece, and I'd slap his hand.
He's drooling.
Yeah, the barbecue sauce in place of the pizza sauce and the chicken. Oh, it's so good, so good.
Yeah, this is stunks. Yeah, sorry, yeah. I dropped my water bottle.
I'm usually the one kicking things, but.
Donna Morrison says, Missing Spec, what year was the first car produced in Mexico?
I have no idea.
A ver.
It had to be somewhere post-war because that's when everything was like closed down and couldn't share. Or I don't know, 50s probably.
Britain says, I know what I mean by that. It's kind of funny how the Maverick looks now compared to the back that is unique.
Are you talking about the car or the truck?
And laughing, Barracuda says, smutty.
Hello, Barracuda.
Hi, Barracuda. Why are you saying smutty? I'm playing with joy.
I put this 4-door Maverick on here because this is the way they were made in Mexico. It still has the 302 under the hood, still has the 4-speed manual transmission on the floor. So it's basically a 4-door hot rod. And the tailpipes are too long. They got to be cut. But yeah, it's basically a 4-door hot rod.
Chris says, really? I'll be sure to email you a picture of the pizza once it gets here.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Then I'm going to have Mrs. Spec make a cauliflower pizza crust, and we already have the chicken, and we already have the barbecue sauce, but the mozzarella cheese would stop me up for a week or two. I won't be able to use the bathroom, and that's going to exacerbate the problem that I have.
Braden says best gas station item.
Gasoline.
Andrew says kitty pizza. Uno's here.
Hello, Uno.
And they say GG Jinx. Every time you're on, then there's a hockey game. It's muy no bueno for the Oilers. What the fuck, man? The victory song is La Bamba. Let's change the log. Kill a chicken, any chicken.
There's one right outside in the backyard. Not my chicken, though.
You say any chicken.
We already have dead chickens in the refrigerator.
Cannon says, that's actually a good looking car. You said it's a Ford Maverick?
Yes, it's a Ford Maverick. The Maverick in Mexico, Shannon, was not an economy car like it was in the U.S. Every one of them had a V8 under the hood. And I think the first 2 years they were three on the tree, but after that they were four on the floor, or maybe three on the floor. Could have been three on the floor, but they were Mexico's muscle car.
Mark says maybe those tailpipes shoot flames slow.
Well, if you're taking like your groceries out of the trunk after you drove it to the store and back, you're going to be burning your legs on both exhaust pipes. So it's kind of stupid.
Sivando says the license plate says hey.
I didn't even look at that.
Granddad Junk is here.
Hey, Granddad's junk. How's it going for you?
And they said good morning, Macy and Mrs. Maxie. How's it going?
Well, tell him how it's going
It's going well.
so far.
I have a cat.
50 minutes into the stream, it's going pretty well. Haven't seen anybody new in here though. And Paco Alpha didn't answer my question.
Steven Andrews says chicken.
Chicken. That's a rooster.
Chris says, Granddad's Junk, hey Tony, how's things in Greymouth tomorrow? And Granddad's Junk says, good day, Chris brother. It's overcast but nice. How's it yesterday? Very gracias, Greymouth.
Grimace.
Mi gato. Mi gato.
I think I'm gonna stop publishing these safaris. They don't get any views, and they're more expensive here than they are in the U.S. So there's no real incentive for anybody to buy one. I'm seeing them sell much cheaper on Bring a Trailer and other sales. Kind of a waste of time for me.
Chris says to Granda's Junk, it was a sunny but somewhat chilly day. Winter appears to finally be dying here.
Famous last words, Chris.
Uno says four-door muscle cars are pretty unsung Mexican/Mexican American style of cars, like lowriders. Same attention to detail and cleanliness, just two extra doors makes people think mom mobile, not hot rods.
Right, but if you look at Australia, almost all of their hot rods are four doors. They didn't even get many two doors there. So they're all trained to think four doors hot rod. So it's all where you come from. We could send two-door Falcons over there, the 67, 68 Falcons over there, and they'd go crazy for the two doors because they didn't have them.
Chris says Barracuda, I was just worried I used the wrong gray/gray.
It's your choice, Chris.
Uno says, not your chicken? Get it, Mrs. Spec.
Nope, the chickens belong to the neighbor, although I have to clean up after them in my backyard. Because my cats are too chicken whatever, you know the word, to go after them. Yes, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, but they'll bring it inside and make a mess.
No, they won't bring it inside. It's too big.
Corvul says, I got notices on some other lives, but not for yours.
That's weird because I put the thumbnail up like 4 hours ago.
Fernando says, Falcon had two doors down under.
Did it? Not many. You talking about in the late 60s?
Brandon says, hand car washes. Picking your car up brushes or no brushes and not touch. What?
I just watched yesterday. I guess it was a premiere, but I didn't get to the premiere on Jay's Junkers, and he bought a van, a long wheelbase Dodge van, put it up on a trailer and towing it with his truck, and he pulled into this self-service car wash, which had doors on either side, and his truck and the trailer fit in there with the long wheelbase, and he was able to wash it in there because I guess it's warmer than being outside where it's snowy. And I'm like, that's pretty trick. I would love to have a self-service car wash here to take my car to. I would love to have that and do it myself, but we don't have that. We don't have it. They probably wouldn't even allow it here because a car wash creates jobs.
Chris says, well, let me spell gray mouse, so now I've lost the ability to be an honorary Kiwi. And Brayden says, what are you choosing? And hand car washes,
I want to
cleaning
wash my own
your
car.
car brushes or no brushes and nothing.
I want to wash my own car.
Mercury says, actually, every time I have to write gray, the color, I wonder if it's supposed to be with an A or an E. I think it's an A.
I think it's acceptable either way. Lester LeSabre can chime in on this. He's got personal reasons for that.
Chris says, power washer with a soap cannon attached to it. Granddad says, don't worry, Chris, we will let you in.
Chris, we can't do that here because by the time, if you put the soap on the front of the car, by the time you get to the back quarter panel, it's already dried on the front of the car.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't work for me.
Ford says, Aussies had Falcon Mania. Ford had their Cleveland factory open there longer.
The guy that from there told me that they were all 4 doors and he wanted to import 2 doors from here.
Fernando says, I don't know what the
Checkerboards on the Chevy. He says Chevy Buick because it has a Buick front end and a Chevy rear end.
Okay. So it says, why don't you open a car wash, Mexican?
Because I don't want to buy myself a job.
Chris is on the chat. Braden says, who do we got within the Major League Baseball, aka MLB this year? Who's the winner at the World Series this year?
I don't follow sports.
Mark says it's gray if you're Canadian, gray if you're American. Uno says that chicken belongs to the neighbor now, a messenger of La Bamba, all the way from Jalisco to Edmonton. And let's all take a moment of the sacrificial chicken and we can all cheer. Go Oilers, go Gracias.
Okay, go Oilers.
Go Oilers. Shannon says that's a lot of what we have here is DIY car wash, which I prefer, especially since my truck can't fit through the automated ones.
Right, but we don't have that. And I asked my friend years ago, would it be something we could open up here, on the corner or whatever? But people may come in and steal the machinery, steal the money. You never know what's going to happen here. So we never really took any steps towards it.
Gray says gray/gray is used interchangeably here. Fireflies here.
Hey, Vilefly.
And they're clinging to the speedometer.
The speedometer? Isn't it usually behind a piece of plastic?
You don't know. Then there's the Seattle Mariners. I can't pronounce that. Driveway always says the Brayden don't know who will win the WS, but
World Series.
The World Series, but expect the Pirates to do surprisingly well this season. Pergola says, and what if you're New Zealandian?
Mm-hmm.
Brent says, who would you ever want to be on a soap opera?
Nobody. Too much work.
Lester says, mine is spelled one way, but A or E is generally acceptable, I think. My first name is Gray.
Dope. I knew a guy that was on a soap opera, and I could not understand how he could do that. Learn the whole script one day, film the episode, forget all that, learn the words for the next day, and that the soap opera was on for 5 days a week. I could not understand how he was doing that, because I would never be able to do that.
Chevrolet says, all you have to do is go and clean up and collect the money.
If everything wasn't stolen out of there.
No says, thanks, spoilers. Chris says, Firefly, hey dude. Firefly says, hi, Mexican steak and all. Fernando says, go Seattle Kraken. They're not doing great, but. Mark says, back in my taxi days in the 90s, there was a 24 self-serve car wash where you took a ticket going in and they charged by the minute. In the late 90s, it cost me over $20. Yikes.
Wow. I would be on the trip from Vegas to Los Angeles or back in Victorville. I would stop at the gas station, fill up, and for like $3, they give you a code. You drive through the gas through the car wash and you go out the other side. I go buy my hamburgers at Del Taco and keep going. But that was $3 well spent to have a clean windshield and everything without even getting out of the car.
Pablo says, I need to take some beekeeping classes for my need making retirement plans. Uno says, Steve, are the Mariners your team? I saw Griffey Jr. hit a double-decker off Ryan in the Kingdom. Pablo says, no one ever went broke selling alcohol, no?
No, they didn't.
Triple says, a novela?
No, it was in Los Angeles. It was in I was in Burbank at the time. He was on one of the soap operas in the what was it late '80s. The late '80s. It wasn't Days of Our Lives or any of that. It was a newer one that came along, but he was a main character on there. Christoph St. John was his name.
Braden says, we're not talking hockey Oilers, it's our hockey. I'm talking baseball.
But Uno is talking hockey because he's watching it.
Mark says, Bowfly, especially the government. Shannon says, what's this car I'm looking at now, like a hatchback?
Isn't this a Datsun 510 hatchback? Yeah, it's a Datsun 510 hatchback.
Oh,
This is a U.S. import, so yeah, you had them over there.
Bowfly says, hey, very true, Mark. Uno says, Everly is a great captain, and when they get it all clicking, the Kraken are gonna be trouble. Larson is a beast too. Bowfly says, nice wagon. Shannon says, wagon, I mean.
Yeah, it's a Datsun 510 1980, somewhere around there.
Braden says, still, go Oilers. Braden says, goddamn, are there some hotties that are on bolts and beautiful too.
I have not
Beautiful.
watched a soap opera ever, but I don't know.
Pergola says, I love to see Victorville.
Not much to look at, Barry.
Lester says, I heard that Jackie Gleason would memorize a whole script in one reading.
Well, that's good.
Police says, I have to clean the inside of my windshield often due to vaping with high VG liquid.
I wouldn't do that in a car.
Braden says, did you know that Young and the Restless is from over by Green Bay somewhere, and it's filmed in somewhere by in between Green Bay and Milwaukee somewhere.
Is that where it's set, you mean? They don't film it there.
Mark says, anyone ever play Train Miner? And that what a mindless game.
I don't even know what that is.
No. Papa says, you watch soap operas, Braden? Uno says, how much was gas when you got your license? I remember 19.9 liter, paid 149.9 liter today, up 1.30 per liter. Is bucking bananas. Bucking bananas.
I don't even remember. I never paid attention to prices. I just if I had $5, I put $5 in it. Didn't matter how much I got.
Papa says, oh, the almighty Datsun 510.
Yep.
Chris says, Braden watches soap operas. Does he also drive a bill? Firefly smirks.
When I worked at the Chevy dealer, a guy came in, traded in a Corvette, bought an '87. It was a dark red convertible, and his name was Josh Taylor. He was on The Young and the no, he was on Days of Our Lives, I think, at the time. Plus, he was he played the father of one of the characters on Beverly Hills 90210 and stuff like that. So he invited me to go to the park down the street in Burbank where his team would play softball against other teams. The soap opera team would play against other teams. That was interesting.
Hippie Long is here.
Hello, Hippie Long. He would get out of his car and people would mob him, especially young girls, because he's on the soap opera. He gave me a look, and I gave him a look back, like, hey, you signed up for this. This is what happens.
Hippie Long says, have a good Mr. Mrs. Spec. Brendan says, that's where it's filmed.
I don't think they film anything other than in New York and Los Angeles as far as soap operas go.
Marcelo says, it probably depends on what you like to look at. I like the search.
He likes desert.
Oh,
Dessert has two S's.
yeah, that's what I was looking at the word for. Driveway says Barracuda. I prefer just dessert.
Me too.
Firefly says all the hot women in film are in the Hammer films with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, the best scream queens ever. Braden says, I believe Young and the Restless is filmed in between Green Bay and Milwaukee. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not quite sure though, Max.
Well, why would they be filming it there? It's probably set there, but they wouldn't be filming it there. That's not where the actors live.
Firefly says, and they could act. Commander says, I remember 26.9 cents a gallon in 1972.
Got to get that 0.9 in there.
Braden says, does anybody like 600-pound drag queens?
No. That ones never do well.
Oh. Dessa says, gas was 32.9 cents a gallon when I started driving. I'm old. Barracuda says, what's your favorite dessert, Chris? Faith Bernard says, I make sure my fried chicken is done the right way.
Good.
Chevrolet says, that was before Hollywood became gay and transsexual.
Not all of them are. They do promote the hell out of it, though.
Chris says, Barracuda, don't know if I have one favorite. Have you ever heard of Snickers pie?
They turn Snickers into everything. How come Dean's not here to see these Mustangs? Where is he?
What's your favorite dessert?
Chocolate cake was really good, but I can't eat it.
That doesn't mean anything. What's your favorite dessert?
Chocolate ice cream now? I'm very limited on what I can eat now.
No, what's your favorite dessert? Doesn't matter.
Chocolate cake with lots of frosting.
Chris is very good. I don't know if I have one favorite. Oh, wait, no, I never read that one.
You got 2 bites of the apple, Chris.
Firefly says, is that a Mustang or a Capri?
That is a Mexican Mustang, Firefly. As you might know, Capri never made a coupe. Mercury never made a Capri coupe. So Mexico did, basically. But it's got the hood and the front end of a Capri, but the smooth fenders of the Mustang, because it has to match the quarter panels, which are smooth on the coupe.
Brian says there should be a topic. There should be a topic for Kim fixes things or Bob for me. Well, I don't know how to read the next one. Can you read the next one for Stephen Andrews?
Stephen Andrews, yeah, it was always number and 9/10. Never understood that. Well, they didn't want to put the higher number, so they just put 0.9 on the gas. And when it got to 9.99, and they didn't have it was 0.99, and they didn't have the one. They couldn't go to the one, which is what's happening now. The gas pumps go to 9.99. They can't go to $10. So they're trying to figure out. You guys may be going to liters at some point, so they could put the higher price without it looking like it's a higher price. They may be doing that. I need my zapper.
You left it on the kitchen?
I don't know.
Here, hold it. Hold it.
No, I'm not going to look for it. Put it back where it was.
You're so cranky. He's so cranky. Dean might still be working on his tailgate, says Triplet.
Well, hopefully he's working.
Barcuda says, I've lost my ability to use question marks for some reason. Something must need resetting. A job for my son.
Yeah.
Check your language. Your language might have changed, which changes the settings on your keyboard.
The language of the keyboard.
Yeah. So that might have changed. Biofly says interesting. Lester says Dean is probably watching Dallas live stream.
Dallas is live right now? How dare he?
Braden says Mazda Ford. Chris says Dean had to make Mrs. Ecstasy to the had to take Mrs. Ecstasy to the department store to buy bras. Hopefully he's standing very uncomfortably next to her.
If he was smart, he would just sit somewhere outside of the department so people couldn't take pictures of him with all of that around him.
Regular says I tried to draw Dean away from that live stream. Braden says Mazda Ford Lincoln.
Barry, what channel is it on? Do you know? Buff is supposed to call me. Actually, I'm going to get my phone. Buff is supposed to call me and tell me what channel on YouTube the live is, because I don't know.
Fernando says, okay, I'm going out for dinner. Chris says, ooh, Caribe.
Yep, Caribe.
Braden says Mercury.
Ford.
Marguerite says, that's verging on being smutty, Chris. Ford says, I buy oat milk. Ford says, I buy oat milk ice cream. That's the chocolate with chocolate syrup.
Oat milk ice cream.
What they choose.
I think the oat would give me problems.
No.
Oats are the cereal.
Yeah. Debola says, that isn't a cabriolet.
No, it's a Caribe.
Barclay says, when someone uses that name, I always think ex Stacy. We all prefer Stacy's mom, anyway.
I never met Stacy's mom. I only knew Stacy.
Lester says, Mr. Rotor's channel.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if I'm even subscribed to that one.
Barclay says, I like Snickers. Snickers dessert sounds good.
I switched to Milky Way because the peanuts in the Snickers just started getting on my nerves.
Fernando says, see you later. We'll keep you on stream.
Okay, when you come back, bring some of your dinner. We all need some. If there's any gluten, Mrs. Spec can eat it. Yes, Stray Bullet, Caribe. That's what the rabbits were called here. And the first generation Jetta was called Atlantic. They had a Caribbean theme going on for Volkswagen at the time. So, yeah. And it was called Golf everywhere else. I don't know why they didn't call it Golf, but
it's covered in scabs.
Mexico was a very special place.
Marcela says, I think the channel is called Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers Neighborhood or Neighbor.
Okay. When we're done with this, I'll check that out.
Marcela says dinner. I actually haven't planned for it tonight.
Ooh. Does that mean you're having like a sandwich?
I had a sandwich. I had a sandwich last night. Brandon says Stacy's mom has got it going on. Oh, you're singing. Chris is Firefly, no problem. Faith is making fried chicken.
and you're getting pizza with chicken. So there's a theme going on here.
Double says Argate, same Volkswagen.
Kind of. No dreadlocks though. That didn't come with the car.
Ford says non-dairy is the reason, but you can't have the.
Nope, I can't.
Oh. Says fried chicken. Haven't had that in years.
There's so many different ways to make it. Then the taste and all that.
Daniel says raining like hell here in Marin and Sonoma.
How is that possible when it never rains in California? It's always sunny. Stray Bullet said the same thing, and I didn't believe him.
SSL says it's called Mr. Rogers.
Okay, I'll look that up when we're done here.
Ford says I bought a 1996 Volkswagen Rabbit.
Yeah, they went back to that name for some reason. Or was it always a rabbit in Canada? Oh, you are not in Canada, are you? They brought the rabbit name back, which just confused things. when you're searching for a real Volkswagen Rabbit. But then in 2010, they called the Jetta here in Mexico Bora, Bora, because they still were selling the Jetta Classic at the dealership too. So they were selling two Jettas basically here at the same time, and they sold the classic Jetta for quite a while afterwards. They changed the tail lights and added a tail light part on the trunk, but that was about the only change they made. And they changed the headlights too, the front end design. No, you don't. I lived in Southern California. I know what it's like. Sonoma, Sonoma. But we don't talk about people spelling here because all of us have done the same thing. Hit a wrong letter without checking it. This is really not a bad bullnose carryall. It only has one seat in the back, but apparently no heater controls. Yeah, it is. Country. Sometimes people put a chain on there and then they have a padlock like under the front bumper so nobody can open the hood and steal anything. I know it's got the inside hood release, but you never know. If he had experienced something like that, then he probably put it in for that. Sleeping is good. Gets all of your energy back.
Thank you for you saying that.
For him. You don't use your energy for anything.
I work all day. Oh no, I work, all night. I work all night. Regreso de could be Sonoma for all no. Says Barry to O's. Driveway says to Firefly, lots of force to work on this.
Apparently, he was real tired.
It says they stole my battery one time.
And they're expensive now. You guys notice the bed on this truck? This is an 85 model, and it's got this Mexican bed. The guy put smoked lenses on it, side marker lights on it too. And I don't see any turn signals behind the grill, but they have to be there somewhere. This is a really nice truck for what it is. It's got a dent on the left side, but that's easily fixed. Ooh, pizza.
Pizza's here. Let me get that picture for you. And it's like this lifetime for me.
Eat the whole thing, Chris. It's easy.
My plus says lots of everything plus a trainee. I had to save a transmission from my here front pump by Junior Bertman.
So you have to do your job and somebody else's job, Biofly? Did you get? Did they bring only one pizza of that, Chris? Wonder how much pizza is over there these days. Probably a lot, just like everything else. Just like everything else. Now I want a barbecue chicken pizza. Firefly says he broke the oil pan before the transmission, so I salvaged the situation with a new oil pan. Ugh. This is a Ford Topaz. Ford Topaz. Not Mercury, not Ford Tempo, Ford Topaz. Ford in the front, Mercury in the rear. The only reason I published it is because I'm put it on here is because it's a manual. Wouldn't do an automatic. No air conditioning though. The button's not there. Looks like an original radio. Where are you gonna find an unmolested Ford Topaz?
Chevrolet says, no wait, Chevrolet says, I'm in wine country too.
Just a different country.
Chevrolet says $25 for a medium combination.
That would be over 500 pesos here. How much is a pizza here?
Regular medium for pepperoni is 100.
Yeah, it's like 99 pesos here for like Carl's, not Carl's Jr. Little Caesars. It's like 100 pesos for a medium-sized pizza. So that's a little over $5. That's crazy, Stray Bullet.
And says, what's with the yawning? It ain't even late there yet.
No, but I usually stay up late, and then I get up at 9 o'clock, and then 9:10, 9:20, 9:30 until I get out of bed. So I'm feeling tired too.
Which one is probably no one. Because tonight's pizza is the chicken pesto.
So that's not the barbecue. Well, then I don't need a picture of it. Quit playing with the cat.
No. The mission was almost slaughtered. However, he did manage to break a lot of sense of trying to be macho and doing it by himself for his first time. All him macho is useless in the field.
That's for sure. So now the shop has to pay for a whole bunch of extra stuff.
Nicholson says the last one on the planet. A friend had one at the pass with a blown head gasket. Lived a mile from work. Would get to work every day before it was.
Just couldn't go anywhere else.
The job was a real main seal.
Ugh. And here's one that I have never put on here before, a Ford Aerostar. And again, there was only one reason that I put it on here. A part that it's in pretty nice condition. It's got a 4-cylinder under the hood, and you'll see on the inside.
$32 for a large pepperoni.
That's crazy. Well, they didn't show it. That was a 5-speed manual in that Aerostar. Really, really weird. I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
Because I can make my dog yawn. Haven't had any luck with the cat yet.
So which one is smarter?
The store pizza, I mean, $3 to $6. Caesars pick up just pepperoni, large, 11 plus tax. Better pizza is $20 plus $20. Rather than thick Arizona.
Yes, but it's a 4-cylinder stick shift Vilefly.
4-cylinder, never saw one with one. 2.3 liter?
Probably. I don't think I have opened the hood, but yeah, the thing will run forever, and it's got nice interior and stuff. So why not? It's a full body on frame truck, same as a Ford Ranger. Then this one is a Dart K, also a manual, but I don't like the wheels on it. When it shows the close up of the wheel, look how tiny the brakes are compared to the wheel. There's no reason to have a wheel like that.
You're in love with the manual.
Yes, because it doesn't break down. I've had really bad luck with automatics, and there's nobody around me that knows how to rebuild one correctly.
Bioside is a reliable engine. Okay, can argue with that with it then.
Right. Not a lot of power, but it'll run forever. This one is not a Magnum because it doesn't have the turbo engine. It's just a Dart K.
I hope it doesn't have ABS brakes on
You just unplug it and be done with it. You don't need ABS brakes on it. And put a piece of tape over the light on the dash. Now I don't know if you noticed on this car, but it's got the Dodge 600 front end on it with the Dodge Aries rear end on it. It's got the Chrysler front end on with the Dodge rear end on it. So
Josh Homan says that looks ridiculous with those silly wheels and those rubber bands.
exactly, that would be the first to go. Don't like them either.
Biofly says the Chrysler ABS system of that era were fraught with recalls.
Yep.
Biofly says hydraulic failure was common, could not be bypassed.
That's crazy. The ABS light has been on the dash of my Durango for 15 years now or longer, probably longer. I don't need them. Not necessary. But somebody put Recaro seats in this thing. It may have came from the factory with Recaros. A lot of cars did here, like the Volkswagen Caribe GT. Although that's probably not. Somebody probably just put Recaro and the Recaro design in the original seat. Trying to fool somebody. I'm not fooled. I will not be fooled.
Where's the zapper?
I don't know.
You left it in the kitchen.
Are you asking?
Yes.
I don't know. I looked on the table, it's not there. The headlights have to go too, Josh. I don't like those headlights. Go back to standard headlights, sealed beams. They're the best. Don't need all the rest of that crap. It doesn't make the car look cool at all. And of course, here's a Dart K wagon. Dart Ka is what we call them. Wagon.
Ford says my ABS is way better than my older car without.
When somebody gets in front of me and I need to slam on the brakes, I want my tires to lock up and scare the hell out of them. I don't like ABS.
Fireplace says no, this particular model was the Electroboost system from Bendix.
Bendix, yeah.
No ABS equals no power assist on this design.
Oh. It was all intermingled. That's terrible. No reason for it.
Fireplace says no Electroboost on the one you were showing though.
I don't think they had anything like that here because that would have been way too complicated a system for them to build into a car here. Everything here was 60s technology. And that's why it lasts so long. That's why these cars are still driving on the street because they don't have systems in it that fail and then you can't fix them and then you have to junk the car.
Glenn says Recaro Montalban.
Yeah.
Sarah Martin says ABS sucks.
I don't like it.
Dr. Art is here.
Hey, Dr. Art. Yes, it's a Dart K wagon with a manual in it. This thing will run forever. But it's got the Dodge 600 front end on it, and Chrysler and Dodge never made a Dodge 600 wagon. They only made the Aries wagon, so this is a unique looking vehicle for you've never seen one like this in the US.
Dracula says the plane. Plus says 1980 to 82 were the bad ABS years for Chrysler.
There were no luxury cars here for Chrysler. I mean, there was a town and country wagon, but it would never have anything like that. Everything else was an entry level, like the two door Dodge Diplomat style cars that had the Plymouth Volare front end on it. It was 225 slant six, no power steering, no power brakes. They're not going to put anything like that in it. So that was not an issue here. Another reason to buy a Mexican car. No complicated systems. Now, either somebody redid the interior in this car or it's a really, really nice original. Stick shift in a wagon. I don't really publish cars like this because by the time we get travel and transport, the car's too expensive for anybody to ever buy over there because these were throwaway cars. So nobody really, the only people that like them over there like them because they're completely worthless. That's the only reason they like them.
Ford says my Saturn ABS went out and I had to push with all my foot power.
So that was also intermingled the ABS with the power booster.
Well, plus I believe it was in the LeBaron convertibles and similar luxury vehicles of the time period.
They didn't make any of those here, so that wasn't an issue here. It just had your basic brakes and power brakes. None of that stuff was here. You can see right there, it has the regular power booster on it. Like I said, the cars here were made for longevity. They weren't going to design in systems that were going to break and people couldn't afford to fix them. That came much later and is now.
Chris says, drop a 2.2L liter turbo in that thing, and it could be one fun sleeper.
Yeah, it could. It could be a Magnum wagon. Turn it into a Magnum wagon because the Magnums were made that year with the turbo engine and the 4-speed or 5-speed manual and the nice seats and everything in it. Very easy to do that if you can find a turbo engine that runs well.
Well, plus the Saturn should have not been intermingled. Sounds like a isolation valve fault. Not a typical failure. Vintage Adventurer Drives is here.
Hello, Tanner.
They say, hey, Max and Mrs. Max, how's it going today?
And the cat just answered that.
Yep. Believe in Yourself says, make shagging wagons great again.
They are great again. People are paying a lot of money for wagons. A lot of money for the nice ones.
Ford says 2005 L300 with V6.
Are you talking about the Chrysler 300 with the 6-cylinder engine in it?
Fireplace says, oh well, I hate ABS anyways. I can fix it, but I don't need it for myself.
I know how to modulate the brake pedal. I know how to get a car to stop. And like I said, I really like the skidding of tires. That scares people because you don't hear that anymore. Cars don't skid anymore when they're braking under hard braking. And I can control that. I like that noise. Because it's not enough to honk the horn. Because people that drive like that always ignore the horns because they hear them all the time. So skidding tires on a big truck coming at them, they're going to pay more attention to that. Not that I've done that in a long time, but still, I like the option.
Vintage says, I have the transmission out of my wagon right now. I have to find a bell housing for the new transmission. Unfortunately, my old one won't work with the transmission.
Oh, that's too bad. Are you going to be able to find one that'll fit?
Firefly says, I have to look up the Saturn L300 to verify the system.
Oh, Saturn. I thought you were talking about Chrysler.
Chris says, gotta admit, up here where we get snow and ice, ABS does become quite useful now and again.
Yeah, but we don't have any of that here, or not much of it.
Ford says Saturn.
When the Saturn dealer opened in Las Vegas, my buddy and I went over there just to see what it was all about. And the no haggling. This you're gonna pay. This is what you're gonna pay for the car and all that stuff. All of the employees were trained to say, no, this is not a General Motors product. We have nothing to do with General Motors. They wanted to completely separate themselves. That didn't last long though. That didn't last long. But if you want Saturns, they're all over this area. They're all over the country because when they were worthless over there, people brought them over here. They got them registered and everything, and they're all over the streets here. Every model you want, I can find it.
Vintage says, I had to lock up the rear brakes of my Scamp the other day because a deer ran out in front of me.
You didn't lock up the front brakes? kind of have that same problem on our Dart. The rear brakes, it's not adjusted correctly, so the rear brakes lock up where the front brakes don't because they're discs in front.
Other places, Mexico, ABS is pretty useless.
Well, it depends. If you're on the highway, it could be a good thing going around a corner.
Stray Bullet says, I rev up my engine. It scares the hell out of people.
People hear that a lot though, Stray Bullet. It's not something that puts them in danger. Skidding of tires and a big truck coming at their door does, because they could get hurt.
Vintage says the bell housing isn't super impossible to find, but it was only available for 3 years behind a 2.0 liter. I could also modify a bell housing from a 2.3 liter.
Go on to the Facebook groups, the Pinto groups, and see if there's anybody that has one without spending a whole lot of time looking around. Somebody may have one just sitting there where they took their 2.0 out and put a 2.3 in it, and you may have better luck doing that.
Chris says I had two Saturn S series sedans. Would not throw an SW2 5-speed wagon out of litter out of my driveway if one should appear.
I guess you're a Saturn fan then.
Trevor says you have never experienced fear until you hear an 8.1 liter Chevrolet engine hitting the rev limiter. Firefly says there were escaped GM engineers and you had Saturn. At first they were great, solid and reliable. Then they sold out or were bought out and turned into crap. Typical business model.
Yeah, then they started putting the Saturn name on vehicles that were sold, like the Captiva, Chevy Captiva, and then they had the Saturn, whatever the hell that was named. So you basically had the same vehicles at every other dealership, so they couldn't claim we're not General Motors. But that when they first opened, we were there like 2 days after they opened, they were telling us, no, we're not. We're not a General Motors division.
Vintage says, I'm way ahead of you, Max. I posted as soon as I realized my predicament. I have a couple of comments, but nothing definite.
Well, that's good. You got to use all the resources. I love looking in the Pinto, the Facebook. People are keeping their Pintos pretty nice.
Chris says, S-Series Saturns were great. Everything else was tainted with GM's DNA, and it ruined the brand.
Of course, the one that I liked was the one with the pop-up headlights, but it was such a crude system. You see them come up, and when you put them down, they go slamming down, boom, like that. Uh, it was not a well-made car.
George Thomas' Saturn was always General Motors, but they were run with some autonomy at first.
Yeah, but they were told not to tell anybody they were General Motors at the beginning when they first opened up the dealership. So they had some idea that they were going to set themselves apart, not be associated with General Motors, so people will come there and buy the cars. Didn't work.
Firefly says, seen a Saturn smash into a Taurus and slaughter it. Impressive crash test for me. Sold me on their body panels.
The replaceable body panels.
Vintage says, the first car I wrecked was my buddy's 1998 Saturn SC2.
SC2. That's the pop-up headlights, right? The Sport Coupe 2.
Pergola says, GM happy come GM.
Mm-hmm.
Ford says, spirit bag, gonna give cat a treat.
Well, don't say that. Oh, okay, you can say that. The cat left. Okay, that's good. He didn't hear that. I get to have spaghetti tonight. So you don't have to cook anything for me. You guys gonna join us on a live tonight? Burning? Mrs. Spec didn't know we're gonna do that.
No.
But we're gonna do that with my phone this time. We need 150 watch hours to get to the goal. We're almost there. Almost there.
Vintage says that SC2 didn't have pop-up headlights.
It didn't? I thought 2 was the better model from the 1.
Chris says, The SC pop-up headlights were only for the first generation SC 91 to 95.
Oh, okay. Okay. So he had a later model that had that really weird long headlight in the front.
Josh Homan says sounds good. Olive is here.
Hello, Olive. Glad you can make it.
Ford says all the four-cylinder Saturns are still around the V6 and mostly gone.
Well, the
Are
four
mostly
cylinder
gone.
didn't they have a steel timing chain, not a timing belt, which is probably why they're still around. But if you do a search for Saturns for sale, there's not very many of them still around because a lot of them came to Mexico. They weren't sold here, but they are all over the place.
My place says time for another car company to rise and sell reliable cars. Otherwise, a short man with a funny mustache will produce a shitbox reliable car and be hailed a hero.
Do we know who that short man is? We already have the little cars here, Vilefly. Every company here sells a subcompact, small engine, manual transmission that go forever. Because I make it a point when I get into an Uber to ask them, how's the car doing for you? You have 400,000 kilometers on it. What kind of service have you had to do? And generally, they just say replace the clutch. They do their oil changes every month and a half or so, do the servicing every month and a half because they're driving it every day, all day. And basically, they just have to replace the clutch at 200,000 kilometers. So every 200,000 kilometers, they have to replace the clutch, and that's it.
Chris says, Corsair's still thinking about that green Corsair wagon you sent me pictures of.
I think that one's gone. This has got kind of weird wheels, but again, I only put stick shifts on here because I would never buy a Volkswagen with an automatic.
Fireplace says, but not in America. We are wide open for this.
Yes, but unfortunately, the car companies think nobody wants to buy a car, so they're selling just SUVs. That's crazy. That's crazy, and they're more dangerous to drive. So I don't understand where that came from. Nissan's still selling the Versa, aren't they? The Versa manual.
Fireplace says the market is wide open.
There's $20,000 cars here that'll last you for the rest of your life. You don't have to spend much. And if you're only going to drive around town, and I don't believe I'm going to say this, but the BYD Mini Dolphin Mini, which is all electric, it's $20,000, and you could go all over town, come back, plug it in, go all over town again the next day, come back, plug it in. That's what these guys do with Uber. That's what the guy says. He plugs it in at his house. He never has to go charge it anywhere. He drives all day for Uber, makes all his money. There's virtually no service on it, and he makes all his money. So that car would sell like hotcakes over there. It's a little four-door, little hatchback.
Firefly says the market is wide open.
Mm-hmm.
It is total madness. The birds are still being sold. Joshua says they just discontinued it.
They just discontinued the Versa or the Versa manual. Josh,
Firefly says,
what do you think of this, Chris? Somebody tried to make this car look like a cartoon character, or it's in a cartoon, or the funny pages.
Chris says, as long as the average American consumer is willing to take out a 10-year loans on overpriced SUVs, we won't see any people's cars sold here again.
Well, what choice do they have if there's no offering of any cars that are cheaper?
Olive says, I don't want a little car without a manual. Basically, I'm more flexible about trucks.
The truck should have a manual too.
Leslie says, I think Nissan dropped Versa in the US.
Oh, that's too bad.
Barracuda says, I think a lot of people like the SUVs because they are easy to get in and out of.
Most people, like young people, don't care about that. But if that, I watch the crash videos, and even a small hit on an SUV sends it rolling where it wouldn't a car. So I don't understand why people want to get into that.
Karen Morrison says, let's do a Mexican Spec YouTube marathon.
We can't do that, Daniel. We don't have enough cars to show.
Chris says, holy crap, it's right out of a Aha Steak on Me video.
Yep,
Awesome.
it sure is. Somebody went out of their way to make it look like this, and it's. I don't have that kind of vision. I'm not creative, but you keep looking at it. They even did the wheels, the accents on the wheels, the shadows on the wheels and stuff. It all comes together.
Joshua says, the Versa was suspended last year. Vintage says, Max, what time are you going live later?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to find out from Buff what they're doing because Saturday night is usually for them. We usually go out in the backyard and burn, I don't know, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, something like that, which is really late for you guys because you're farther east from us.
Max Vegas, our last hope is Wildfly.
We got all the little cars here. How many you want?
Joshua has probably because they're big. Somebody says that bug is fake.
Fake? No, it's real.
Somebody says it's an AI bug.
And Biofly says SUVs are spelled $UV $.
Olive says certainly wouldn't buy a car sold with special effects.
Why, you think it's hiding things?
Biofly says, oh, the Volkswagen paint job is hilarious. Biofly says comic book paint job.
Yeah. There's people that are really into comic books.
Pergola says, I remember my girlfriend really, really liked the guy in that video, Chris.
You can do anything with a VW with a Beetle Vilefly. I've seen one painted. What was it? Orange and black and white, and then they put Harley Davidson on the side. I've seen Coca-Cola Beetles. I'm going to be publishing a 2001 model that's all beige, but it has the Beatles on the side from the singing group. It has the Beatles in big letters, and then like little the four of them standing there.
Fireplace says, I need a trench coat for this car and a fedora.
You gotta dress for the car. No, he's talking about the Beetle.
I know.
Not the Hunter. This is a Hunter. Top of the line Chevy truck for the year called the Hunter. Although this one does not have power windows, it is the top of the line truck. Manual too. 350 with a manual. Can't beat it.
Chris says, Barracuda, he's the lead singer of Aha, still out there performing, still sounds great.
What's his name?
No idea. Olive says,
I'm asking Chris.
I got a thing where I like to see out of the glass anyway.
You because the window was done too. Maybe it's see-through paint.
I wish I was good at painting.
Painting a car is hard. It's hard to find anybody that knows how to do it. Chris forgot his name. Oh, well. A buddy of mine was the manager of some production paint shops, and as much as the painter would give him problems, if he was really good at what he did, he would put up with anything the painter did because you just cannot find a painter that's worth a crap. So
That is Bill Smith.
That's kind of a generic name. You don't really get big with a generic name like that. But yeah, when he had a good painter, the guy would come in late, the guy would do this, do that. He didn't care. He's not going to say anything to the guy because he knows how hard it is to replace him. Because without a good painter, a production shop doesn't make any money. They can't put out crap, even though you think they do. They don't.
Says most of the people good at painting cars died on some kind of lung disease.
They can use respiratory protection. They don't have to breathe everything. But
Chris is Morton Harkett, has lead singer.
that's a more unique name and one I would never have thought of. Never heard that before. Morton Harkett. It looks like somebody took the letters and switched them around. It should be Horton Market. That's where we go buy stuff, right? Horton Market.
Mm.
And what's their mascot? A big elephant. Because he heard a who.
What are you talking about?
You've never seen Horton Hears a Who? Horton Hears a Who?
No,
It's an animated Dr. Seuss movie.
I don't watch Dr. Seuss.
I'm sure they got it.
Chris says the band was Norwegian. Alpha says yeah, but they were so enthusiastic about painting they didn't wear their safety gear.
Yeah, the older guys. So where's Bear Rose Garage? I sent him pictures of this car because he was asking about a black Beetle, and this is one of the few.
Daniel says a lot of good high-end car painters in LA. Vintage says Megs, you just made me laugh out loud.
Mrs. Spec doesn't know Dr. Seuss. I sent these pictures to Bear Rose Garage to see if he liked the black Beetle, a very special fire beetle with special wheels, special interior, black paint job, the Jetta steering wheel. In 94, Volkswagen was celebrating the 40th anniversary in Mexico. And why is that picture in there? Because that's not the same car. I don't know. So um, they put out a lot of special um, editions, like the edition one that was just shown, and then the Fire Beetle, and just a whole bunch of different ones. They all came out in '94.
Chris says she doesn't know Dr. Seuss. You have failed as a husband, Megs.
I'm not her daddy.
Excuse me?
She can go look up Dr. Seuss if she wants to.
Excuse me.
What?
I think you misspelled that word.
Why? Misspelled what word?
You're not my dad.
Right.
You are my daddy.
Okay, I'm not her dad. She can go look up Dr. Seuss if she wants to.
Ralph says, I wonder if there was a scarab beetle look for kids. I don't know much about beetle farming.
No, there was nothing like that.
No.
They did have a lot of different special models. Probably most of them that came out in '94 were special models coming out of the Puebla factory. There's one right after the other. Special color, special interior, special wheels, special steering wheels, all stuff like that.
Ralph says, blocked the Dr. Seuss chat. Lester says, fire beetle better than a fire ant.
Yes, definitely. And on this car, they put the Fire Beetle on the hood, and they used one. It was one word. Here's the one I'm trying to get the customer to buy right here. This Ram Charger.
Barracuda says, I don't know what SUV stands for. Isn't it Sport
Sport
Utility Vehicle?
Yeah, Sport Utility Vehicle. There's nothing sporty about them, but there are sport utility vehicles.
Billy Carafano says, no green eggs and ham for you.
Nope, no green eggs and ham for her. Absolutely not.
Vintage says, oh dear, now we're talking daddy stuff. I'm going home now. See you later.
Okay, Tanner.
Sorry. Chris says, Barracuda, sucky, unappealing vehicle. Joshua says, Ford utility vehicle. Leo Wi-Fi is stupid utility vehicle.
Okay, now you're going to see the interior on this Ram Charger. It is being fixed right now. The owner is fixing the interior, the seats. I don't think he's doing anything about the center console, but the passenger had one panel that needed to be replaced. He did it, and it doesn't look good. So I asked him to please be careful about the other ones because it looks like there's not enough foam in there, and the panel it doesn't look right. So my customer does not really like that. He wants to see a full picture of the seats after they're done.
Regular says someone called Will Smith got famous. What?
Yes, he did.
Joshua says basically a car built on a truck frame.
Mm,
Lester says one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. What?
that's another. That's another Dr. Seuss book.
Okay.
You know, I really can't blame her because she grew up in learning, speaking Spanish, and
I grew up in Mexico.
Dr. Seuss was very specifically English, the way he did his rhymes and stuff. So I don't think it would really translate to Spanish very well.
Regular says I wish I had dog's feet.
How would you get any shoes, Barracuda? How would you get your foot into a shoe?
You wouldn't need shoes.
Yes, you would. Hot is still hot.
You could get sandals.
This truck here was published a little while back. The guy took it was inside a building or something, or like inside a house or whatever, and he was taking, or maybe it was a warehouse, and he took pictures inside where it was really clean. The paint looked really shiny and stuff. And I didn't realize that I had already published it on my page at number 139, and then I published it again because he published it a second time, taking pictures only when the truck was parked outside. I didn't even realize it was the same truck till I matched up the license plate. But hopefully, I'll be able to sell this truck. This is in Tonalá. We're gonna have to go get it in Tonalá.
Barfly says translating rhymes is very much a barrier for many books.
Yeah, but if they do it in Spanish, they're gonna have to rhyme the words in Spanish. That's gonna take the meaning away from what it was in English.
Regular says good point. I don't like cold feet.
Well, I'm thinking about hot feet on hot, like a hot sidewalk.
Barfly says eyes the ECM suspiciously with compound eyes.
Why? What's wrong with the ECM?
My hand fell asleep.
Should I ask about it? The back seat looks good. What?
My hand fell asleep. No.
You got to get the blood going. You're resting it on the chair. If he fixes the front seats correctly, then we're gonna go buy this and take it directly to Veracruz to ship it off to Florida for a client. If I have a feeling that the seats are not going to turn out right though. I asked, did you do it in leather or vinyl? He says, it's the same. It's the same material. That didn't answer my question. See, the center console needs a little bit of work too. But do you guys know if they use that same center console in the Ram trucks? Because if they did, it'd be easy to find one of these over there. The center console.
Granda says up north they need dog speed. They are getting hammered. What?
Up north they need duck's feet. They are getting hammered. I don't know what that's about.
Northwest says not replacement ECMs available.
No, probably not.
Chevrolet says dogs stay in the water when it's hot.
Yeah, but not if Barracuda had duck feet. He'd be walking around. He had duck feet on his regular legs.
Barracuda says there was also a pretty famous actor called William Smith.
Is there? Was there?
Butterfly says not that I couldn't improvise another ECM with a Arduino setup.
Dr. Art does that stuff, but I don't know anything about these trucks. If it starts and runs, it's going to continue to start and run. That's all I want to know.
Barracuda says a cyclone.
I guess he's showing here there's no rust on it, but it needs a cleanup. This would need a major cleanup underneath before it could get on the ship, on the vessel. But it's not going this month because we already missed. The ship is already. Tires look good though, so we don't need to put tires on it. The ship is full for April, so it would be going in May. And see the screws in the door there? It looks like they put screws and and washers to keep the door handle in there. So that may be a problem too. Don't slam the door. See, that part of the seat right there was fixed, but it's kind of wrinkled down near the back of the seat. So it looks like they didn't put any more. They didn't fill it up with the foam.
Mm, Chris says, Canada's junk. So the North Island is getting hit with a cyclone and you aren't? Biofly says, I miss the mini trucks.
We have all of them here, Vilefly.
Chevrolet says, Barry, just we just have to stay in the water then.
He's not going to float like a duck, so that would be difficult.
Barracuda says, for one thing, William Smith was in the later episodes of Hawaii Five-O.
Later of which one? The original series or the remake?
Brother Jones is correct. It's absolutely calm here.
It's not really sunny outside here either. It wasn't all day. But here we are. So I'm going to shoot for 568 because that's exactly 2 hours.
OBS Shipyard is here.
OBS Shipyard. We're just closing out right now. Yes, that is a very nice truck. This is a Mexico only model, and it is called the 400 SS.
Happy to finally catch one of your lives.
But we're just closing out. We've been on for 2 hours.
We're gonna be on later today as well.
Yeah, we're probably going to be outside burning some more stuff. I have to go clean out the ashes from last week, and probably be out there just talking up a storm, or however it's going to handle.
Chris says, Granddad, a cyclone hit the North Island earlier today. The government estimates it's done roughly $27 million in improvements.
Improvements.
OBS is thank it.
We're on at 4 o'clock Pacific time on Saturdays.
On Sundays, we are at
8:15. We'll be on tomorrow night at 8:15 OBS with these same pictures.
But it's time for dinner. Time for dinner. Need to find something to cook.
Yeah, I think it's about time. I'll start maybe in an hour or so. I'll start my gluten-free spaghetti. It takes about 45 minutes to cook it in boiling water to get it soft enough where I can eat it.
OBS says, what makes the what makes the 400 SS differ from the US Spec Silverado?
Well, if it was the top of the line truck, it does not have a 400 under the hood. It has a 350 like every other Silverado. Sorry, every other Cheyenne in Mexico. But it's just the equipment package. Here's the invoice right here. And see color blanco olímpico. Yeah. Let's see, equipo eléctrico, power windows, rear window, air conditioning, console, techo heater, step side, system of frenos, ABS. We've been talking about that. 5.7 automatic, sport steering wheel, paquete sport. I'm not seeing on here where it says. Oh, there it is up there. Says Chevrolet commercial 2000 pickup 400 SS automatic tipo K. That's the K series. The package it has is the K package of equipment. Let's see. It has a sport steering wheel, sport radio, 2 speakers with a horn, and then the other stuff down at the bottom.
Brandon says North Island has been hit 3 times this year. Ford says Lincoln is cheese with black pepper. Chris says too late for me, unfortunately. Triple says a homemade sticker OBS.
No, Chris, it's not homemade. It came from the factory.
Chris says, that settles it. It's the South Island for me. Berkeley says, is it bad, Granddad? Bowfly says, you have to boil gluten-free pasta like it was stamped. The rinse starch out too.
It's made of corn and rice, so I just want it to be soft enough to be able to eat.
He likes mush. Brenda Young says, good on you, mate. VS says, is that an LS based 5.7 or Vortex?
Did they have LSs in the year 2000 OBS? I'm not sure.
Firefly says 5.7L central port injection. Chris says, Brenda, if you see a Yank in a Fiat driving on the wrong side of the road, be sure to wave at me.
He won't know you're a Yank.
Firefly says SBC Vortex. Barracuda says too many Americans that come here drive on the wrong side of the road. Chevrolet says Vortex. Brenda says Northland and Bay of Plenty thousands without power.
Mm.
Chris says to Barracuda, that's what I've heard. It's bad in the UK too. There have been fatalities unfortunately. Chevrolet says we have the same problem with Australians here, Barry. Brenda says, sure thing, brother, while you here popping. Bafa says, bean based gluten free pasta is softer.
No thanks.
Arthur says, way more Chinese to that.
They started the 400 SS with the 98 design truck, and then they moved it. Just leave it. Then they moved it to the 2000s body style, but put it on the the step side type, which we all know is the weird design look on that thing. So then people started making 350 SS stickers that go in the same place for their other trucks because it has a 350 under the hood, but 350 SS was never a model here. So, oh, that's nice. Josh was able to figure out the list even though I never took any Spanish. It's pretty easy. It's not a difficult language to learn if I could do it.
Chevrolet says, if you guys fall for not changing your cars like the rest of the world. Alfred says, I think I might do pasta tonight. It sounds good.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get out of here though. Rest a little bit before I start the water. Hey, Paco Alpha, te pregunto algo. ¿En qué ciudad vives en Tamaulipas?
Paco Alfa dice, si no le se agarró para el directo, pero que paso a dejarle like y buena vibra. A veces, I wonder if I could find any SBC 400 blocks over there.
We never had any. 350 was the only engine they used.
Ford says, I made some great spaghetti with meat, flat noodles instead.
That's good. Quiero saber dónde vives en Tamaulipas, Paco. Can you hear me?
Yes. Firefly says, I'm thinking pasta Alfredo. Pasta Alfredo.
That's a very cheesy sauce, yeah.
That's one of my favorites.
I think it has gluten though for me. We've checked the labels. I think it has gluten.
Yeah. Paco Alfa dice Matamoros, Tamaulipas.
Matamoros, okay. No en Tampico. Está muy cerca de la frontera.
Paco says, be sure to throw some chicken in there as well. And broccoli.
Broccoli?
Yes.
Why would you want to wreck pasta like that?
To make it better with broccoli.
Anyway, guys, we'll probably be on a little bit later tonight, depending on how things go. But we'll for sure be on tomorrow night at 8:15. And really, we've read the labels.
Depending on the brand.
The only brand I know is Ragu.
Yeah, but it's not usually gluten free because they use the gluten as a thickener for the sauce.
Yeah, that's in a lot of sauces though. They put flour as a thickener. But I don't know. We'll have to read it again.
No broccoli in the pasta Alfredo. Aww.
Thank you everybody for being here, and hopefully we'll see some of you later or tomorrow. And I'm gonna go see what's going on with Mr. Rodder's neighborhood, see what's going on there, and see if Buff is there. So
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Biofly,
good night, everybody,
Jaguarza, Chris,
or good day to you on the other side of the world.
Grandas Young, Daniel, Ford. Thank you guys for being here, for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you later today. If not, we'll see you on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Bye bye.